Jonathan Crane, otherwise known as the Scarecrow, uses a combination of psychology and chemistry to induce fear in his opponents. His methods can cause paralysis, permanent insanity, or even death. But that's just in comic books and movies. No one could scare you to death in real life. Or could they? I'm Rusty Ward, and I love horror. I love being scared. It's thrilling and exciting. There's few things I enjoy more in life than reading a H.P. Lovecraft story or watching a John Carpenter film. But that's fiction. I don't really want to be chased by a serial killer or a shoggoth. Psychologist Thomas Straub found that watching scary movies activates different areas of the brain than experiencing terror in real life does. Many believe this has to do with the fact that when we're watching horror films, we're less being genuinely terrified and more play acting in the role of the protagonist. We're putting ourselves in that person's shoes and learning and testing our own survival skills. You would never go down in the basement by yourself to investigate a creepy noise. But what about real mind-twisting terror? Not the kind you watch in movies, but the kind that makes your stomach drop and your head spin. What causes that? Let's find out. Last episode, we looked at how pheromones are used to cause attraction. But there's another use of pheromones: to sound alarm, to tell everyone around you that something terrifying is happening, and you have to run. After a honeybee stings someone, they release isopentyl acetate. This tells all the bees around them that there's a threat near. Zebrafish have a layer of mucus outside their skin. Within that mucus are sugar molecules called chondroitins. When these molecules are broken in the surrounding water, as they would be if a fish was injured, they cause alarm behavior. Low concentrations of chondroitins cause the zebrafish to dart back and forth. High concentrations cause them to freeze entirely. There's no one fear pheromone for all animals. Each pheromone is species specific, and this is to an animal's benefit because they want to be able to alert the members of its own species without tipping off the predator that they're onto them. So does a fear pheromone exist in humans? That's what DARPA wanted to know. They conducted a study in 2008 where subjects either smelled sweat from people who had done normal exercise or sweat from first-time skydivers. MRI scans found that subjects who inhaled the skydiver's sweat had increased brain activity in their amygdala and their hypothalamus, two regions of the brain associated with our fear response. We don't yet know exactly what the substance is in human sweat that communicates alarm, but we do know of some other odors that have caused a contagious state of fear. Relatively harmless odors like smoke from a brush fire, pig excrement, and even incense have caused widespread panic and physical illness simply because people believe they were toxic. If odors are noxious or merely perceived that way, they can have an incredibly powerful effect upon the body. That's because we don't just perceive odors with the conscious parts of our brains, but also the unconscious ones. When the amygdala perceives an odor, we don't think about it. We react to it instinctually and emotionally. And of course, the Pentagon wants to take advantage of this too. They've discovered US government standard bathroom malodor. Its initial application was to test industrial perfumes and air fresheners. A secondary application is for this to be the world's most horrible stink bomb. It's been described as human feces times 10 with rotten eggs and a rat. After just a few seconds of exposure, volunteers were screaming and cursing. Even though the substance is not harmful, they were convinced it was toxic. Bathroom malodor is made up of 8 different chemicals, but what exactly those chemicals are is information not available to the public. And as an aspiring superhero, I'm not really sure this is the direction I want to go in anyway. This power would make me feel less like Batman and more like Skunkor or Bacterian. There's another problem with relying solely on scent to instill fear in humans. Unlike most mammals, our olfactory system isn't our primary sensory organ. If we smell something horrible, but we see and hear that we're safe and sound, we can overcome our reflexes to run or cower. If you're really going to terrify someone, they have to hear you. We're all familiar with scary music, whether it's Jaws, or Halloween. The sounds just send a chill up your spine. Why is that? It might partly be due to the fact that we associate them with these scary films, but according to biologist Daniel Bloomfield at UCLA, there's another reason. He says that the music found in horror films, dissonant chords and pitches that gradually get higher, resemble the screams of infant mammals, and we're biologically predispositioned to grow tense and fearful when we hear those sounds. Another fascinating association between fear and sound was proposed by Tandy, an engineer at Coventry University. He investigated places that were supposedly haunted. At these locations, people described feeling strangely uncomfortable, or having the hair on the back of their neck stand up, or seeing things out of the corners of their eyes. What he found there was infrasound, sound waves with a frequency lower than 20 hertz. We're unable to hear infrasound, but we can feel it. Infrasound can cause discomfort, dizziness, hyperventilation, and it vibrates your eyeballs, causing blurred vision and in some cases hallucination. So that covers sound and smell, but humans rely mainly on their vision. How are you going to scare someone visually? Scientists believe that what causes the greatest fear isn't an obvious threat, but an ambiguous one. People express less fear when they see angry faces than they do when they see frightened faces. When you see an angry face, you know where the threat is coming from. When you see a fearful face, you don't know where the source of the threat is. You've yet to identify it. Ambiguity also explains why children are afraid of the dark. When the lights are on, there's nothing in their room. When the lights are off, there could be a whole world of horrors hiding in there. Michael Stevens does a great job of explaining this principle in his Vsauce episode, Why Are Things Creepy? He explains how neutral or even happy masks can still be considered frightening because we don't know the true emotion of the person underneath the mask. Our brain doesn't like ambiguity. It wants to see things it can understand, and this can cause problems sometimes, particularly in the case of people suffering from Bonnet syndrome. This is a rare condition where people suddenly start seeing the deformed faces of imaginary figures before them. After they go to the doctor, they learn that they're not going insane, but suffering from macular degeneration, or age-related vision loss. Their eyes can't see everything in front of them, so their brain is filling in that image, in this case, with horrifyingly cartoonish creatures. So if someone really wants to induce fear, the most effective method is one that tackles scent, hearing, and vision. But you have to be careful. The US government classifies their fear-inducing weapons as non-lethal, but being scared to death isn't just an expression. People do die of fright. Fear is an incredibly powerful stressor, one that initiates the fight or flight response. This sends adrenaline coursing through your system and raising your heartbeat. If the stressor's too great, there's too much adrenaline in your system, and this could offset your heartbeat, causing cardiac failure. This typically happens in older people with pre-existing heart conditions, but young, healthy people have died of fright as well. So take it easy out there. Save the full court press for some real bad guys, and give your mom a break. You can give a mom a heart attack by jumping out of a closet and yelling boo, so maybe leave the stink bombs and the infrasound in the basement. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for future episodes, check out some of the previous ones, hit up the Science Friction Facebook page to see my list of the top 10 scariest supervillains, and of course, let me know what superpower you want.